Hey guys, real quick, only 40% of our viewers are actually subscribed, so let's change that right now. Hit that subscribe button right below. We're starting with the Tennessee Titans getting their second win yesterday, 1 o'clock. Cam Ward, Shadur Sanders, one of the most exciting games, actually, of the day.
It's a good game.
31-29, Titans get the win to move to 2-11. Browns fall to 3-10. Titans were up 2 scores late. Shedeur leads 2 touchdown drives to get back into this game here, and then they did the analytical play, go for 2. You won't find 2 worse 2-point conversion attempts than what the Browns pulled out here. But they on paper, it was the right move. You're down 14. They go for 2 the first time. Shedeur drops the snap, and then the second one, they go for 2 the second one to tie the game, 31-29, and Quinshon Judkins on the direct snap. I don't know what happened.
I honestly think he just forgot he had to pitch the ball. I think.
Well, at first it looked like he was fake, but it could have been a fake. But the way he did it was like, oh no, he's past me.
I think he just took the ball, started running to his right, as
like thought he had it.
Well, as often happens when he's in there with a play, and then realized too late. Oh no, wait, this is a play where I've got to pitch it to the guy going back in reverse. And by the time he realized that, it was too late to actually fix it, and then he's desperately trying to create some sort of magic, cutback lane by himself and just gets buried. If I was guessing, that's what I would say happened. Like, he just forgot that this play involved a pitch back to the reverse man, and by the time he realized that, it was already too late and the play was done. Sometimes I think that coaches. So I watched the clips of people asking Stefanski about this afterwards, and it's like, I mean, what do you say? Like, there's no good answer to that. It's like, yeah, that we called a play we thought would work, it didn't. I do sometimes think that coaches, though, just don't do themselves any favors with this type of thing, where it's like, going for 2 is fine. Why would you call a play that involved taking the quarterback that just executed this large comeback, who is like this lightning rod of media attention? Like, why would you call a play that involved taking him off the field? Like, you have to have another play that involves Shedeur being there.
I don't think that matters. I mean,
100% matters.
They run
because it fails, and every single Browns reporter is going, why wasn't Shedeur on the field?
They run an entire Wildcat package with Judkins taking direct snaps.
Okay.
They've been doing it for weeks.
Right. But if
it
doesn't work, all you're going to – nobody's
and so
going to
you have the entire package. You've got he's going to run power. He's going to run counter the other way. We're going to fake the reverse. We're going to toss the reverse and have a pass, Philly special style. I mean, they have the whole package with Judkins. They do this every single week. It's not this unique situation like, hey, guys, when it's 31-31, we're taking Shedeur off the field. And
it doesn't
just,
matter, because all anyone's going to ask, which happened, is why wasn't Shedeur on the field for this 2-point play?
You don't call plays so that whoever shows up the Cleveland radio host who's going to be on our Shouty shows on Wednesday is not upset. That's not why you call plays. You're not making play calls just to make sure that you don't end up on Cleveland radio the next day.
There's no reason to add that to the list of things for people to beat you with. Like, you're already having your job called for on a weekly basis. You're already losing games to bad teams.
And the reason you take the quarterback off the field there is because it helps the numbers game. When you run Wildcat, when you take the quarterback, who's usually not a threat in those situations, then the defense has to account 11 on 11. You don't just say, oh, there's Shedeur's, he's out wide on this Wildcat play. Just ignore him. They're probably not going to throw it to him.
Yeah, so alternatively, you can leave him on the field, call a play that involves passing, and let him do what he'd done to drag you back to the win in the first place.
He made some really impressive throws in this game.
Yeah.
I thought his first touchdown goes for 1 yard in the box score. And some people look at the 1 yard touchdown like, oh, those are easy, until you see the throw that he makes to Harold Fannin.
Beautiful throw.
It is
Harold Fannin was amazing in this game. Harold Fannin and David Njoku made some spectacular catches.
I couldn't help, when I've been watching Harold Fannin these last couple weeks, I couldn't help but think, the Browns still have it, they're building this team back up. And there's other Browns news, actually, that we have to reference and get to when it comes to their quarterback situation in the future. But I couldn't help but think, as the Chiefs are trying to, get through this, Travis Kelce drop and the end of the Travis Kelce era and everything, if Harold Fannin was drafted to a team that was competing right now, I mean, we're talking about him as a potential Rookie of the Year candidate. And like if he had gone, remember Denver was going to draft a tight end for a while, and they don't necessarily need him. But imagine if he went to Denver, if he went to Kansas City or some of these top teams, people would be talking about Harold Fannin quite a bit.
Yeah.
He was awesome in this game. And Shedeur put some really good throws right on him as well. Anyway, the 1-yard touchdown was outstanding. 7-yard touchdown. Fannin had to go up and get it. He was so good, man. He was very, very good. And so that, I mean, what you're saying, though, is the way Shedeur, I thought, threw accurately in the tight red zone would be a reason to maybe lean into that at that point in the game.
Yeah.
But,
look,
overall, the idea of taking him off the field to run a wildcat play, like, that happens. I get it.
Of course it happens, but there's no like, if you're Kevin Stefanski in the situation he's in right now, which is your team is a joke, everybody's calling for your job, you're losing to the Tennessee Titans, who were 1 win on the season and look like the worst team in the NFL, and you are now 1 play away from tying this up, there's just no reason to add to that. Like, you know, you hear all the time, well, we don't think about the downside. Well, think about the downside, because if you don't think about the downside and the downside happens, then you just got blindsided by something that you didn't need to have as a factor. You've got a list of plays for your 2-point conversions. Just call one that involves him on the field. There's no reason to shoot yourself in the foot if it doesn't work.
Just because the media makes a big deal out of stupidity.
The media matters. You don't want it to, but it does. Head coaches have to deal with that on a weekly. If the media didn't exist, Mike Tomlin would have no problem whatsoever. This is a media thing where all of Pittsburgh is finally getting sick of Mike Tomlin, pending this week. Media matters. You don't want it to, but media drives owners to make changes.
That might be the if you want to add layers to it, the fact that the billionaires are sometimes weak-minded and influenced by the masses.
Yeah.
That's the one reason maybe that you don't want to deal with that. Anyway, I thought Shedeur played great.
Shedeur, so his PFF grade will not end up amazing because, in particular, his interception was pretty awful. But I think overall he played really well in this game, particularly when you consider, I mean, Tennessee's 14-3 up later in the game. They're 2 scores up. Like, he brought them back repeatedly over and over again in conditions that weren't amazing. I mean, it was cold, it was ugly weather, and he was in a must-pass situation for a lot of the game. Yeah. And unlike, the last time where he made some positive plays and everyone was like, yeah, but look, it was a screen and Dylan Sampson went to like this time he dumps the ball off to Sampson and Sampson fumbles the ball. Like, his supporting cast was actually letting him down in this game in some instances. I mean, also David Njoku and Harold Fannin were making spectacular contested catches, so it was a mixed bag. But dude, he looked really good in this game. He made the big plays we've talked about. I think some of the most impressive stuff was actually, though, the stuff that doesn't, like, it's like a baseline for being a good quarterback in the NFL, but is his weakness. Like, how do you handle pressure? How do you move in the pocket? How do you, once you're moving in the pocket, what are you going to do at the end of that? Are you going to keep making it worse and take a terrible sack, or are you actually going to wait until you understand now is when I got to get rid of the ball? Now is when I've got to do something with this play. The overall level of him in this game, I thought, was really good, with obviously the caveat that it's the Tennessee Titans.
A couple things to back that up besides the Titans point, but Shedeur was the leading rusher on the team for the Browns with 29 yards on 3 carries, includes a 7-yard touchdown scramble, which was outstanding. Yep. Only sacked twice in a game where he dropped back. He had 42 pass attempts.
Yes.
That's, again, outstanding, right, given what we saw from him coming out of college. You mentioned, the game script and everything getting out of control.
Blocked punt was the other thing.
There was a block punt, yeah. And I want to give the Titans proper credit for all those plays in a second here. But Shedeur goes 23 of 42 for 364 in those 3 touchdowns. Yeah, the interception wasn't a great, kind of a panic heave into double coverage. But the 3 touchdowns plus a 35-yarder to Harold Fannin on a go ball, which was outstanding, 60-yarder to Jerry Jeudy right on him on a post. And immediately we said to Shedeur a couple of weeks ago, like, he had a couple big plays in there, but you saw more big play potential from this Browns offense that didn't exist with Dylan Gabriel or even with Joe Flacco earlier in the year. All of that has changed. It's a little bit like when Jameis took over last year. Not the same wild stat lines like 450 yards and 4 touchdowns and 4 picks, but similar idea where all of a sudden this offense is elevated and you see some big play potential. But I think the fact that Shedeur even got this close or helped the Browns get this close to the end, it reminds me a little bit of if you characterize his Colorado career. Terrible offensive line, had his buddy Travis Hunter, who of course is outstanding. He had some pretty good pass catchers, but wasn't a great team overall in Colorado that Shedeur helped make competitive every single week. And I think you saw elements of that in this Browns game, even though they fell short.
Yeah. Overall, I think he was very impressive in this game. The other thing, Devin Bush had an interception in this game, and it's probably overdue talking about the bizarre and yet impressive rejuvenation / breakout to his career that it's been. Devin Bush, like former first-round pick as a linebacker who's been almost universally terrible in the NFL. Like Devin White has been the better of the two linebackers when they were sort of draft either or at that time, and Devin White has been pretty terrible. And yet that's how bad that most of Devin Bush's career has been. And this season he's been amazing in this Browns defense. Picks the ball off, almost houses it. Just a phenomenal performance this year for him. Like, I want to call it a career rejuvenation, except I don't know that his career's ever been alive to the point in the first. Like, it's just a breakout from nowhere.
I feel like we've had who's the guy for the Packers a couple years ago that just ran himself out of the league when he was with the Niners? Devondre Campbell.
Yeah.
You always have like the random
All-Pro Devondre Campbell.
Year 5, year 6 linebacker breakout. Now, Devin Bush has been great. Carson Schwessinger's been great. I mean, there's so much to like about this Browns defense this year. Titans, though.
Myles Garrett's sack watch, we're up to 20.
He's up to 20. That was another great play. There was some misinformation going around about his pass rush win rate yesterday that went viral that has since changed. So be sure to get the updated numbers on there. He did have some wins against Dan Moore. It wasn't the same Dan Moore season-crushing game against Myles Garrett as we've seen in the past against the Steelers. But Garrett was fine.
So he's now 3 sacks away from the record, 22 and a half.
Got to do it in 16 games. So, yeah. You got 3 more games. We need 1 per game here.
I mean, this was...
You can't do this 17-game schedule thing.
From a keeping him from the record point of view, this was he would have wanted multiple in this game.
With Cam.
Yeah.
Cam Ward. I mean, they were getting rid of the ball pretty quickly. Ward had that interception. A couple other nice throws in there. Nice touchdown early to
that crazy play where he fended Delpit off for like 3 seconds, tossed him to the ground, got out of it. It was amazing.
And again, all those, that was a really nice play. All those plays, Mahomes had one last night too, where it's like, I don't know when they're going to call the play dead versus letting them play through it, but Cam got through it.
That's the true, like, catch-22 thing for defenders now, is that, like, we've seen players, there is a point where if you keep going, it's almost certainly going to result in a penalty. And yet if you don't keep going, they can do that.
Right. How do you handle those situations? From Tennessee's perspective, a couple shout-outs here. Tony Pollard, 65-yard touchdown run, another long run in there, so 25 carries for 161. Also, subtle thing, but at the very end, they needed to run just a little bit more clock to get the final knee, and Pollard had a nice little, run back across the grain to seal the deal for Tennessee. I thought he did a really nice job.
They made some nice plays. I mean, this was an offense that's gotten nothing for a significant period of the season, and they put up, almost 300 yards. They made some nice plays against this really dangerous Browns defense. Tony Pollard, as you mentioned, DK made a couple of nice catches, including his touchdown. Like, there was some signs of life again, which is really all we're looking for.
And then the 2 rookies I wanted to shout out, Tennessee's defense. Marcus Harris, late-round pick out of Cal. He's the one who forced the fumble on Dylan Sampson. He's done a really nice job. And I think if you're a Titans fan looking at, they're 2-11 still scheduled with the number 1 pick right now, which we'll talk about in a sec. Harris is a guy that could be a part of this rebuild. He's done a nice job. And then Kevin Winston, the safety, who was injured for most of last year for Penn State. He's played these last few weeks. I think he's added a little spark to this defense. A couple tackles for loss, making some plays in the run game. And as a pass rusher, had a sack last week, a couple impact plays as a pass rusher as well. So I like Winston, a guy, they traded down with their second-round pick, got Winston, I think, top of the 3rd, coming off of his injury. But he's a second-round caliber player. I think he's added a little spark to this Titans defense.
There were a few plays yesterday throughout the NFL that reminded people that you can still play defense and you can still hit really hard. and not be a penalty. And Amani Hooker had one where the Browns ran like a jet sweep or something to Malachi Corley down in the tight red zone, and Hooker just buried him, like absolutely stoned him with a hit in the hole at the line of scrimmage. So that was a really nice play. There's more that we'll get to later in the many hours of show.
All right. Anything else on the game? Because we have to at least touch on the Deshaun Watson news.
No.
So he had his practice window opened up. I don't think we talked about that on the show the other day, right?
Maybe it happened while the show was going on. Anyway, whatever.
But the news on top of that was the reports that, like, he's in the mix for next year.
Yeah. So
that he's got to be on the roster
next year.
We're
back to our, yes, these are two different things. And yet, because insiders produce the news and insiders copy and paste agent texts, you get a certain wording. One of like the slant being thrown out there from the various insiders is not only will he be on the roster next year, but he could be in the mix to start games again, right?
Nobody wants this. Nobody wants
that
this.
second part that's coming from the desk of David, whatever his name is. What's his name?
Muguleta?
Yeah, there you go.
How do you pronounce that?
I don't know. That's why I asked you to do it, because you're known for pronunciation.
But
that's coming from the desk of Deshaun Watson's agent, that second part. The fact that he will be on the roster next year is basically like a mathematical likelihood based off the fact that when they reworked his contract, they now gave him an $80 million dead cap hit this year if they cut him. It's $130 million overall if they cut him this year without a June 1st designation. So if they just cut him tomorrow, they are on the hook for $130 million of dead cap hit next year. That's so much, it's like, I don't know if you can field a roster with that kind of dead cap hit. If they did what the Broncos did, remember when they cut Russell Wilson to rip the Band-Aid off?
Yeah.
They designated him with a post-June 1st designation. If they do that to Watson,
it spreads
it's $80 million this year and $50 million next year, right? Which is, I mean, that's doable. It would be by far the biggest dead cap hit in the history of the league, but the cap has gone up since. Like Russell Wilson's was $80 million total across 2 years.
Yeah.
This would be $130 million and $80 million in the first year. What this is to say is that because the Browns are the Browns and they keep kicking the can down the road to try and get out of this deal, they put themselves in a situation where they probably need to keep him on the roster and just eat it, right? So that's the sort of first part of this is, oh, by the way, because of Watson's contract, he's probably going to be on the roster next year. They can't really get rid of him. They can't trade him for exactly the same reason. No one's going to take on that contract. It's the worst contract in football.
Well, when you trade a player, it has the same effect with the cap, just to be clear. Essentially the
Plus,
same.
it's a fully guaranteed contract, so you don't get the same benefits that you do for other deals where like you've paid the guaranteed money up front and all that's left is the fake money at the end, and so it's actually a cheap deal for the team taking it on. This is a fully guaranteed contract. It is literally the worst contract in football that the rest of the league still treats as an anomaly, right?
It keeps getting worse.
Correct. So he has zero trade value. Like, you can't get rid of him by a trade. It's even less likely to trade him than to cut him. So he will be on the roster next year. The second part is there any realistic chance that he starts football games for this team? That, I feel, has been put in there by the agent, and the insiders are just, let's put that out there. We'll do him a solid. I think it's extremely unlikely he ever starts a game for them again.
Just had to touch on it because I think we've all just assumed it's an afterthought, but I think we are potentially looking at a Kirk Cousins-like backup situation.
Right.
And when you at least have a rookie contract quarterback, it's either going to be, let's be serious, Shadur Sanders starting next year or whoever they draft.
Yes.
And so when you have not a lot of money invested, you could suck it up for a year and have – hold the awful contract for one more year if needed. Anyway, Titans 2-11.
It is interesting, though,
Browns
comparing it to that Russell Wilson thing, right, where I think people assumed that was going to go the other way. People assumed that Denver would keep Russell Wilson on the roster just because it was so expensive and prohibitive to cut him, and yet they went, no, this guy – and Russell Wilson theoretically is like a good guy, right? maybe a little corny and,
Yeah.
but like theoretically, you wouldn't think Russell Wilson is cancer to have around the locker room or whatever, right? They were like, no, we got to rip the Band-Aid off, get this guy the hell out of the organization immediately.
It's because he had his own office.
Right.
You can't have the backup with his own office. In
$80
Denver.
million dead cap hit over 2 years. Instead, the Browns are like, no, Deshaun Watson, despite his, let's call them character concerns, they're like, nah, he'll be a good guy to have on as a mentor. We'll keep him around. He'll show the young guys how to do things, how to be a professional. Even though it's an awful contract, we're like, we'll keep him around. It's a fascinating way of doing business.
Something to keep an eye on this offseason. Tankathon.com/NFL. Highly recommend if you want to stare at future draft order. Helpful. With the loss, Titans, as of right now, would have the number 3 pick. They dropped from 1 to 3. So there's 3 teams at 2 and 11. The Giants would be on the clock had the draft started today. Giants, Raiders, and Titans all tied at 2 and 11. That would be your 1, 2, 3 right now. Giants, Raiders, Titans. The Browns are now tied with 4 other teams at 3 and 10, but the Browns would have the number 4 pick right now at 3 and 10.
I don't remember where I saw this or what data it's pulling from, but I think I saw that the Titans still had the best chance at the number 1 overall pick based off remaining schedules, 28% or something like that.
And then, it's significant. You had Fernando Mendoza with a couple big throws the other day. If he's going to be the guy, the Giants don't need a quarterback. The Titans don't need a quarterback. The Raiders do. The Browns might. Talk about the Saints in a little bit. A couple QB-needy teams, if there's trade possibilities at the top to just keep an eye on there.
Mm-hmm. Thanks for watching all the way to the end of the video.
Check the Mic is live Monday, Wednesday, and Thursday, so be sure to hit subscribe so you don't miss a video.
You heard the man. Subscribe.